What is up, YouTube? My name is Brandon Rogers. This channel is still called Chili Dog Motorsports, and we are back in the garage yet again with the Grom clone. And today we are doing easily one of the most popular aesthetic mods of any motorcycle, really. We're doing a fender eliminator. But I would like to note, if you don't have an aftermarket taillight, this is not going to work. We found that out the hard way. Get an aftermarket taillight. But if you have an aftermarket taillight, stay tuned. Let's do it now. Now, the reason that almost every factory bike comes with one of these big ugly things hanging off the back is because many places actually have it written into law that your license plate must be mounted at the rearmost part of the bike in a conspicuous, visible location. There's also other requirements for blinkers, reflectors, other things of that nature that need to be in a visible location that manufacturers don't really want to mess up the aesthetics of the whole bike that they spend a lot of time and money designing. And they know most consumers don't want this thing hanging off the back of the bike anyways. So they kind of design it in a way to where it's just bolted there. It just kind of hangs off. And with certain kits, you can kind of just remove it. Look how much better that looks. Yeah, that looks like a sporty bike. For today's project, you are going to need a Phillips screwdriver, a ratchet wrench, a 10mm socket, a 14mm box end wrench, a pair of wire strippers, and some wire connector crimpers. So the first thing you're going to want to do is remove this seat. Oh, were you waiting for like a fancy like snap and then the seat just disappears or whatever? You know, can't just remove it like a normal person. And as always, when dealing with electrical, disconnect your battery. Do yourself a favor. Don't short things out, don't burn your bike down. And like we did in the tail light, we are going to locate that rubber boot with all our plugs, and this time we are disconnecting the plug with the two wires and then all the random singular wires for the turn signals. And don't be too worried, they're all color coordinated. Just unplug them when you go to plug them back in, put the right color back at the right color, and just like that, that's all you need to do. You are going to want to locate the 4 mounting bolts here, 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 and here. And they are 10mm. Be careful of these two back ones. This frame tube and this frame tube are open, and you can drop them down the frame tube, and it's kind of a pain in the ass to get them back out. Ask me how I know. And with the bolts removed, your fender and your rack should come off, as long as you have those wires unplugged. So now, let's take this to the bench and tear into it. If you are reusing your license plate light and or your turn signals, you need to watch this part. If you're not using either your license plate light or your original turn signals, completely skip this next part. You just throw this in the trash or whatever you want to do with it. So now with our fender on the bench where it's easier to work on, we're going to come underneath here and we're going to remove these 4 Phillips screws to get inside here so I can pull these turn signals out, because I'm going to reuse them. I'm not reusing the license plate light though. Forgot there's one in here also. It comes out through this side. Now it can open up. So now you use your handy dandy 14mm to get these turn signals out of here. If you're taking the license plate light, it is these 2 Phillips screws. And try to remember which side was which. I believe orange and green was on the right side of the bike, and blue and green was on the left side. Now with our parts we want removed, I'm just going to go ahead and button this back up. And now is a prime time to take your new tail-tidy fender eliminator and just kind of pre-assemble it. We already put the license plate light in there. We put our plate on. I have already crimped ends and a plug onto the wires. Then we are going to put our turn signals on it. Then you can just put the whole thing on the bike as is. You don't have to mess around with it on the bike. Way easier on the bench, folks. Trust me. I will also note that the factory turn signals have this little nub right here to keep them from like rotating in the assembly. I did have to mark and drill a hole for those. You might have to do that if you're using your factory ones. If you're using aftermarket ones, you might not have to do that, but keep in mind you might have to do that. So now with everything pre-assembled, we can put it on the bike. And I just left everything loose, like the turn signals and stuff, just so we can make sure they're pointing the right way, you know, they're both even, whatever. Then we'll tighten them up on the bike just to make sure they're, you know, not pointing way up or way down or whatever. Alright, and now we are ready for install. And I will note, if you're reusing your factory rack like we are, you're going to have to grind a little bit on these like flanges here. They do interfere with the mounting plate on this. But just gotta light up your bolt holes, make a mark, grind it. Not that hard. Super quick, super easy. I will also note, this is insanely easier if you have somebody to help you hold everything and put the bolts in, because there is 3 different pieces you have to sandwich here all by yourself, and it kind of sucks. But it is doable solo, and I'm about to do it for you, just to prove that it can be done. That'll kind of help hold it all while we fumble with the rest of it. Get the second bolt in there. I usually start with the 2 rearmost bolts. Then we can take our fender eliminator with all the wires. Get those wires fed up through there now so you don't have to mess with it later. We'll carefully get the nut on the bolt without dropping it down the frame tube. And then do the same for the last one. And with them all in there, hand tight, we will go through. This specific kit uses 5mm Allen key hardware and a 10mm nut. And we'll just go through and start cinching them up. And with all of your bolts tightened, we'll just go in and make sure those turn signals are snug down so they don't go nowhere. Oh, those are snug, they ain't going nowhere. Now we will go through and plug everything in. Remember, these were our integrated turn signals for the taillight that we're not going to use. And so we should have our license plate light. That was that two-pronger plug there that we crimped some new ends on, put a plug on. And then we will take our turn signals, and if we remembered correctly which side of the bike they went on, just plug the same color wire into the same color wire. And hopefully it all works. Let's find out. Oh, also hook your battery back up so you can find out if it works. And if we wired everything correctly, when we turn the bike on, we should have a license plate light, and our blinkers should be on the correct side. Perfect. And then you can take your bundle of wires. I just threw a little zip tie around it. Tuck it all up under there. And now you can put your seat back on like a normal person. And now you are ready to ride in style, baby! But really, I think it looks a whole lot better. And if you would like to grab one too, we're going to have all the parts linked below. And remember, get an aftermarket taillight, because this is not going to work without one. We'll link one of those too. Check our last episode. We already did one. Yeah, thanks for watching. It really means the world to us. But now I think it is time for you to get out of my garage. Get out! Come on, get out!